Nothing is more irritating than arguing with someone who is stupid. It makes you want to rip your head off. They're definitely ignorant of facts, impervious to knowledge, and motivated by ego. Never before in history has a fool stated, "You're right, I was wrong." Wonderful talk. Welcome to Luxio. In this video, we'll discuss methods to completely neutralize the situation and these kinds of people. But before we dive in, click that subscribe button and hit that notification bell so you won't miss out on more of our awesome videos. Dale Carnegie claimed in this book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, that the best approach to win an argument is to avoid it, but that this is not always possible. Carnegie's suggestion is for when the disagreement becomes a real conflict. If you fight a pig, you'll both get dirty, but the pig will have a good time. You've probably heard comments like, "Never argue with ignorant people. They'll bring you down to their level and beat you with experience," by Mark Twain. While this sounds great on paper, it's rarely the case in actuality. That stupid person could be a pal who doesn't grasp it, or a state employee who treats you badly, and there's no way around it in those situations. You must respond appropriately to the situation. If the outcome is important to you, you should only debate with a stupid person. Now let's talk about what not to do before we get into how to win an argument with stupid people. Number 1. Don't think you'll win. When someone wishes something to be true, they are more likely to believe it. Changing their minds entails altering their beliefs. That's something they've developed in their brains for years. That is something that no amount of debating will ever change. People are biased in their knowledge, and the internet is designed to reinforce this bias. The disadvantage of personalized content is that if you only read dumb information, your feed will only have dumb content. When was the last time you marked something as not interested? Because there aren't many people who intentionally curate their feed, don't enter the debate with the intention of altering the other person's mind. Consider where they're coming from and what motivates them to believe what they do. They usually stem from a point of ignorance and disinformation. Instead of arguing with the matter at hand, the argument devolves into a debate about their sources of knowledge, which devolves into a completely different conversation. Your objective isn't to prove someone incorrect. Instead, you want to figure out why they think they're right, so you can better navigate the conversation. So, first and foremost, don't expect to crush your opponent. Number 2. Your facts are irrelevant. We live in an era of fake news and information overload. People are frequently overconfident in their own abilities. Why would they waste time learning how some things function if they can get by just fine without it? Do you know how a zipper works, for example? You've undoubtedly used them your whole life, but can you explain how they operate mechanically? Sure, you might get an idea by observing something, but can you depict the insides of a zipper? Probably not. You do understand what a zipper is, right? This is known as the illusion of explanatory depth, and it has been studied extensively. People believe they comprehend complex events with significantly greater clarity, coherence, and depth than they actually do, according to Yale academics Leonid Rosenblatt and Frank Hale. Professors ask students questions about how toilets, LCD displays, and zippers work. Surprisingly, most had trouble explaining themselves. This occurs because our ordinary familiarity leads to overconfidence. You've had access to the internet for most of your life, but could you describe how it works to someone in the 1800s? You've become so accustomed to things operating that you never question why. Why would a stupid person perform well if you, a knowledgeable person, never ask yourself these questions? When you combine the illusion of explanatory depth with people's own biased belief systems, you get a stubborn and ignorant individual. And winning the argument will be built on these 2 points. Here's how it's done. Number 1. Consider the idea that you are incorrect. First and foremost, if you are not open to this option, you may be the ignorant person in this conversation. How can you expect someone else to be open to it if you go into the fight certain that nothing will change your mind? Then expecting the stupid person to modify theirs is a bit hypocritical. People who are foolish lack knowledge and comprehension, not intelligence. If you're fighting with a mentally ill person, you're the one who's stupid, and they should be watching this video. Granted, some people are completely insane and believe the most ridiculous things. A debate with a fool can be a terrific method to put your knowledge to the test. Consider someone as ignorant as a 12-year-old. If you can't explain how something works to a 12-year-old, you don't know it well enough. Number 2, you don't win an argument by making the other person lose one. If you go into the argument with the expectation of winning, they may view it as them winning. You're only going to butt heads with your ignorance. If you win, you've defeated a fool. If you lose, it's because you were up against an idiot. It's a no-win scenario. Make the other person lose the debate on their own instead. People enjoy discussing topics about which they believe they are knowledgeable. It makes them feel informed and in command of the discussion. This is where you begin. If you give them enough time to speak, they will ultimately contradict themselves. When you watch a competent interviewer or negotiator, you will notice that they rarely speak. Instead, they offer open-ended inquiries and leave the dialogue to the other person, returning to the illusion of explanatory depth. People believe they know but rarely do. Allowing the other person to carry the conversation will lead to a standstill. They'll be absolutely astonished at some point and have no idea what to do next. Number 3. Not why, but how. To expand on a prior point, inquire as to how rather than why something works. If you ask why, you'll get a short answer. Asking why won't get you far, but asking how will get individuals to explain themselves. The more questions you ask, the deeper you'll fall into the rabbit hole, and the more difficult it will be for them to escape. They will finally withdraw from the discussion. Why don't you be the one to explain why your truth is correct? Allow them to state their case. Number 4. Be mindful of overconfidence. Coming in too hot will cause an emotional reaction, turning a debate from stupid to combative. It will also cause the other person to point out any inconsistencies in your argument. According to a study, witnesses are more believable in court if their confidence is average rather than excessively high or low. If you're overconfident, your argument will appear to be motivated by ego rather than understanding. No one will take you seriously if your confidence is too low, so keep it moderate. Number 5. Concentrate solely on the key point. Avoid going off on too many tangents. Keep things simple and to the point. But is the most popular word used by ignorant people in arguments. But what about this? But what about that? If you consider such questions, you'll reach a point where you can't recall what the original disagreement was about. Don't stray from your main point of emphasis. Don't do it too often. Build your argument around it, constantly keeping your attention in the center. Bring it up whenever the talk drifts away from it. And this is sound counsel for every argument, regardless of who is on the opposite side. Consider the central point to be a tree's trunk. There may be a few branches here and there, but they are all connected to the trunk. Number 6. Don't disagree with them. That will leave you vulnerable in making your own explanations, which will be worthless. You lose the moment you begin to explain why they are wrong and you are correct. It's your word versus theirs, and they have already made up their minds. Your facts will not persuade them to change their minds. Our personal knowledge is really selective. You tend to recall what backs up your beliefs and forget about the rest. It's like slamming your head against a brick wall when you disagree with a moron. You won't break the wall, and you'll get a headache as a result. Number 7. Fill in gaps. If you can fill in the holes in their comprehension, a stupid person is more likely to believe your story rather than their own. Professors Brandon Nehan of the University of Michigan and Jason Reifler of the University of Exeter conducted an experiment. They told pupils a narrative about a fictional politician who was accused of accepting bribes and then resigned. However, when confronted with the proof, the politician denied taking any bribes. The pupils were still perplexed as to why he would resign. The students began to reconsider their thoughts once the lecturers informed them that the politician resigned to pursue another opportunity. Their understanding gap was filled in. We hope that these pointers will assist you with the inevitable disputes that we all have with ignorant people. They won't guarantee success because some people are simply too stubborn, but you'll have a foundation to build your argument on today. But as an individual, work on your knowledge about a certain topic and widen your understanding. Have you ever had a frustrating argument with a stupid person? How did you prove your point? You could share some tips in the comments below. As always, we thank you for supporting our channel. If you haven't yet, make sure you like this video and subscribe to our channel for more inspiring and valuable content like this. We'll see you in the next video.